Well, today's insurance environment can be very difficult to navigate. Alan Kerr with Delta Trust Insurance Agency joins us this morning with what you need to know about the different types of insurance coverage. Alan, good to have you with us.
Thank you. Glad to be here.
Thanks for coming in today. Let's get right to it. We have a lot to cover. We hear advertisements all the time about saving money on car insurance. So what advice do you have about that?
Well, money is certainly something you want to pay attention to. You know, cost is always foremost in our thoughts when we're shopping for anything. But you don't want to sacrifice too much for cost. You want to make sure you get the right coverages. You want to make sure you have an agent that is interested in making sure that you and your loved ones are taken care of.
That's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Is it better to have a high insurance premium and a low deductible, or vice versa? What's your advice on that?
Well, you know, a lot of people want to tend to go with a low deductible, but that's quite often a mistake. You're paying far too much for that low deductible. Oftentimes several times over what you would save by having a low deductible. So it's better to have a higher deductible and a lower cost, because the claim may never happen, but the insurance is a certain cost every month or every year, however you pay it.
So what are you thinking? A $500 deductible, $750, $1,000? What's typical?
Well, nowadays $500 deductible is considered a low deductible. $750 or $1,000 is probably most common as far as deductibles go, and will save you the most money. Some even consider higher deductibles, $1,500, $2,000, depending on what you can afford. You need to make sure that you don't, price yourself right out of where it's comfortable for you. If you do have a claim, you need to be able to pay that deductible, of course.
Okay, very important. Speaking of claims, people are often confused by the differences between replacement cost versus the actual cost. So explain the differences.
Well, your belongings, your house, your cars, all those things depreciate over a period of time. And but when something happens, you can't go out and get that same item. You may have bought it on sale, or it may be 10 years old. You want to be able to replace that item, and replacement cost is a part of your coverage that you can purchase to make sure that that item is replaced brand new for old, and that way you don't have it get a check for something that depreciated, that so small amount that you can't replace the item.
Okay. Well, how often should people review their policy? Chances are people are not reviewing their policy often enough.
Well, you're right, and a lot of insurance agents don't review policies either. A lot of times you'll buy an insurance policy and stick it in the file cabinet. Unfortunately, a lot of agents do the same thing. So you want to make sure you have an agent who has a system set up to review your insurance every 12 to 18 months. And make sure that you're up to date. Your life may not change much, or you may think your life hasn't changed much, but I promise you, insurance companies change those policies as often as they possibly can to meet the market and the environment and things like that. So those changes are happening behind the scenes all the time. Your agent, a good agent, will keep up with that and make you aware of those things. Okay,
really quickly, we have to cover this one quickly. We've recently heard a lot about cyber liability. So what can you tell us about this new kind of insurance?
Well, cyber liability is something that a lot of businesses are exposed to. If you have data or sensitive information that you're holding for clients, or if you're a doctor's office, data breach is a coverage that is available now. And right now it's very inexpensive. And if you don't have data breach, you really should call your agent today and get that coverage added on. Because this is a huge liability, and you are responsible for that information, and it can be very, very costly if that information gets out.
All right, Alan Kerr with Delta Trust Insurance Agency. You can find more information about this at deltatrust.com.